Stampers, Diane Dimich with DDStamps.com. And I might seem a little frazzled, but I just got a message that Hangouts on Air is going away. So I'm going to have to figure out. Diane Dimich. Let me go around and shut it down. I'm sure I've got it going on several places. Anyway, I'm glad I'm here today. It's been a while. I feel terrible that it's been so long. Life gets, yay, David says YouTube is working. Yay. Let me know if Facebook is working, and also on my website. You may have to click on the arrow, and I probably didn't tell people that. So hopefully, I guess I can check it here. Yep, it's working. So anyway, I've got a house full of dogs, and it looks like a storm is coming in. But I'm glad that YouTube is here because people are commenting. So welcome, Sheila and Jana. Yay, David. Yay, Mary Sue. Yay. So it's been a long time. And I don't know, my life has just been crazy. Life has been crazy. And Stampin' had to kind of take a back seat for a while. And hopefully I'm back. I did, what I ended up doing was I took a weekend and I got away from everything. I'm checking to see. Oh, good. People are here. No one is here. Yay. So a couple weekends ago, I was a little frazzled, a little frustrated, and Linda's asking too about the blades, so I'll talk about those too. Anyway, so what I did is I cleaned out our camper, I filled it up with Stampin' supplies, and I headed up the canyon, not very far from here because I'm so thankful that I live close to the mountains, and went for the weekend, and all we did was craft and talk and laugh. And it was kind of nice. It rained a lot of the time, not too much, terribly, but in town it actually snowed that weekend. It was in June and it was completely white here. We came back in on Saturday just to, you know, shower and get stuff, actually get stamps and more paper. And it was a great weekend, and I'm going to share with you what some of the stuff I made that weekend. And that really helped me to kind of get back to reality and get back to what was important. So hopefully it's going to be kind of a long summer. I'm probably going to be off and on. I'm hoping to come back and do some Thursday evening live things, and I'll always try to do my Wednesdays. I am going to be taken out for 2 weeks in July. But anyway, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming with me. And like I said, I just got a message from YouTube that Hangout on Air is live is going away. So I'm going to have to figure that out. I'm not going to worry about it today because it's working fine today. And hopefully I will get it all figured out. So Linda asked about the blades for the trimmer. So Stampin' Up! Gave us an announcement yesterday. They do have a shipment coming in. They're going to send out an email to tell people when they're going to be available. What I'm going to do is I will send out an email. I'll probably just send an email out to my, like a one-line blurb when I get information to everybody so that everybody will have the same information at the same time. Probably give me an idea of when they're going on sale. What I plan to do is order what I can order. And then those people that, if you miss out, if you're working or you missed the email or something in your customer mind, I certainly will work that out with you. So I am concerned about the blades, but I do know Stampin' Up! Wants to keep them coming till September. They've got the manufacturer making more. So watch for that email. I'll just send it out. I'll probably put a post up on Facebook too when it happens. They said that we would get more information later this week, and it has not been posted as of today. So that's what I know about that. And anyway, I hope everybody's enjoying the new catalog. Like I said, I started playing with some of the stuff from the new catalog. I think I'm missing the YouTube. Okay, great. I see on Facebook that people are there. Awesome. Good to hear. Okay, so I'm going to switch cameras. I've got a ton to show you. I was not going to show a whole bunch of stuff. I was just going to show a little bit of stuff, but you know, well, it's not tons, but it's enough. And that's how it always works. So let me switch my camera over, and I will meet you over on my stamping table. Like I said, the dogs are all here today. The sun is actually shining right now, but I have a tendency to chase the construction workers, so hopefully they won't be too noisy. And if it is, I can always shut the door. So today I'm gonna play with the Free as a Bird set. This is the stamp set that I've been using quite a bit lately. There's something about it, but you have to realize that we were like total snow winter all the way into June. So now when I look out my window, I do see the green grass and my plants are thriving, and that's it. It's all good. Lots of little birds are being born in Red Lodge this time of year, and also deer. I wish I had pulled up some pictures, but we have a lot of deer in town. And this time of year, they're all having babies. And I'm telling you, everywhere you look, you see a deer and a mama, or a deer with her baby or twins that's in the neighborhood. But it's just a cool time of year for me. So, I'm getting a little emotional. Sorry. Okay, so we're going to use the Free as a Bird, and I'm going to show you the paper because this is also what I did for my tutorial this month. It uses the Free as a Bird set and the papers and the cardstock that coordinates, but the colors are just beautiful. I love them. And then these backs are so bold. I don't know, I've been using all of this lately, but my tutorial this month uses this stamp set with that paper and the cardstock. And as you know, if you place a $50 order with me, $50 or more, you will get that tutorial with the PDFs and everything. So, and a video, excuse me, with some, as you can hear, they're barking. You'll get a video too with some tips and techniques for that particular tutorial. I send out a packet of supplies, and usually you get that the first or second week in the following month. This month, I'm probably going to send it a little bit early. If you order from me later in June, no, I should have enough. Anyway, because I'm leaving for a couple weeks in July, and so I want to get those packets out before I leave. I actually leave early, like July 5th. So I don't want to come back to that and have you guys sit and wait. So anyway, to begin with, we're going to talk about this. So I stamped this stamp Free as a Bird with the Early Espresso ink. And for some reason, I'm just loving the Early Espresso with the blend. So usually I would recommend that you use Memento ink. I'm going to pull that out so you can see it, because we use this a lot. The Memento ink is the black ink that you use with your blends. And so what happens is this is a dye-based ink, and these are alcohol-based, and so they don't mix, and you don't get it to smear. Now, if you tried to use StazOn with the blends, they're both alcohol, so you would get smearing. So that's the difference. Well, the nice thing about that is that our classic ink is dye-based, water-based. So you can use our classic inks with our blends, and they won't smear. And so it's fun because you can get different looks. And I'm using Early Espresso, which I seem to use a lot when coloring with blends. But also it's just really cool with all the different colors. The blues or the grays. The grays look really cool. So don't just stick with always black. Move in and try some different colors. So the colors that I'm using here, and I just pulled out the markers that I needed. These are the Petal Pink. This is the light Calypso Coral. This is the soft suede in the dark, and Old Olive Light. And I believe this is Pool Party Light. Yeah, Pool Party Light. And I didn't get the other markers in these colors because it's pretty small spaces and I didn't want to do a whole lot of blending. But I am doing some blending on these birds. And so I just want to show you quickly how I do that. So I'm taking my Petal Pink, and I will tell you that I've used this so much in the last few weeks that it's starting to get a little dry. So hopefully we'll get through this project. And all I do is I'm just laying down a base, and I'm using the brush tip. And I'm just laying down a base of that Petal Pink color in the light. And then I'm going to come in with the Petal Pink in the darker. And I'm actually just putting some color in the highlighted areas, and it isn't perfect, believe me. In the highlighted areas of that stamped image. And then I'm going to come in with a bullet tip. And this time I'm going to use just a bit less color, but still in those highlighted areas. And then the beaks too. Do them in the Calypso. Yeah, Calypso Coral. I'm going to try to be better. I noticed in one of my videos, one of the last times I was on here, I was giving the wrong color. But it was really obvious. Like I was saying Calypso Coral, but I think the color was absolutely like Coastal Cabana, or so. It was like a blue. It would have been obvious to anybody who knows our colors. So then once I've done that, I'm just going to take that light petal pink again and just do some slight blending of those two colors right around the edges. And you'll notice, I think you can see it, but inside the middle of those birds, I actually have white space in some of them and not colored at all. But it just gives you some highlights, makes it really quick and easy. And then I'm going to take my soft suede. And this is the dark. I thought I'd grab the light, but this is the dark, but it'll work. It doesn't need to be that precise. That I might look at it and go, oh, it would have looked better in lighter color, but anybody who gets this as a card is hopefully not critiquing it that much. And if they are, then hopefully they're not doing it in front of you. And then this is the light old olive, and I'm just actually putting some color right onto those leaves. Whoops, spun that baby around. And then I'm coming in with the pool party and adding some color into, oh, there's a leaf I missed. Adding some color into those flowers. And as you can see, I am not making this perfect. I just want to get some color on there. Doesn't have to be all filled in. And there you have it. Super easy to color. Now, one of the things that I did with this, I'll show you another one. Same colors I used. This is actually the lighter branch you can see is the soft suede. And I cut this one out. And then I took some paper. So I'm using the petal pink cardstock, and this is a 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5 1/2. Folded in half gives you your card base. And then I just added a piece of that designer series paper. And what I did is I cut this 4 1/4 by, I don't think it's 2 1/2. And then I have a piece underneath of the early espresso that's 1/4 of an inch wider. So it's 4 1/4 by 2 3/4. And that gives you just enough to give a nice look to that card. I used let's pull them over here. The stitch nested labels, which is all these framelits, and actually the stamp set, this stamp set and these come as a bundle and you save 10%. I've used these a lot for lots of different cards, but I just cut a label and I stamped it with the saying from that set. And then I took my cutout birds with a little bit of dimension on the back, dimensionals, and just attached them on there. And these are actually the cards that I'm taking with me to the next Stampin' Up! Event that I go to. So I'm going to swap these with people. But let me show you the different looks that you get, just depending on the paper that you use. So really, it actually gets just a little bit different look. I'm just using some of those colors. But you can see where you can bring all these other colors of paper in there and get a totally different look than what I got, depending on which side you use. And who doesn't? I mean, pink birds, they're awesome. Your birds could be any color. That's one of the things I like about that. So there's that. And then another thing that I've done with this sometimes is I might take the light. I'm not going to cut this one out, not in front of you because it would take a long time. But sometimes what I might do is just take this piece and then just outline lightly with that pool party around my image. And it just gives the look. Oh, let's look at those flowers. But it looks like the sky. So it just gives a little bit more dimension. Hope you guys can see that. Just gives you more dimension to that image. So there's that one. Okay, so I'm going to run over and see if there's any questions, and then I'll show you the next thing I got. It's using the same. I'm using the same stamp set for the next one. Here we go. Okay, so anybody have any questions? Cool. Doesn't look like anybody did there. Yeah, I do love the paper. It's really pretty. And that petal pink has become like one of my absolute favorites. Sorry, I must seem a little distracted, but it's just because I'm checking around for comments. That petal pink has become my absolute favorite all of a sudden. It's interesting that I can go from, loving that to then go to a totally different Blackberry Bliss color or something. Okay, so it looks like Jan is on my website. Great. And so is Lisa. Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that people are out there. Okay, so I am going to flip the camera back over there. I've got a really cute project to show you using that same paper. So this project here is just a little pocket card. And it of course uses that paper, but then it's got this piece that pulls out with the card in it. So I'm going to show you how to do this. And I'm going to use some of this great ribbon that coordinates with this. It's a petal pink ribbon. Love it. Very soft. Okay, so on this one, I am using, so this is a piece, this is half of a sheet of designer series paper. So it's 6 by 12. And then I'm going to bring in my trimmer. And I told you about the trimmer blades. So when they're available, I will let you know. And hopefully everybody will be able to get enough. And then they'll continue to make them available until September. So on this one, I'm just measuring at 2 3/4, and I'm actually chopping this little section off. So I'll use my cutter, and I'm moving that off. And then I'm going to take this piece, and I'm actually going to flip it, and make sure I'm using my score blade, and I'm going to score at a 1/2 inch. So I scored a 1/2 inch down that side, and then I'm going to flip it this way, and I'm going to score at, wait, I didn't do that right. Dang it. It's supposed to be 5/8. Well, we're just going to go 1/2 inch. The actual score that I did on my first one was 5/8. Anyway, I'm going to turn it this way, and I'm going to score it at 2 3/4. And pull out this arm and score at 7. This should still work. Just got a little bit of a measurement off. Okay, so you can't really see my score lines on this paper because it's really hard to see it. So I'm just going to fold the scores. And then I'm going to take a scissor. And because I can now see those score lines, I'm going to trim this side to that score line. And then I'm just going to trim this a little at an angle. You can see how you just get a little angle there. And then I'm going to do the same thing to this side. And then a little at an angle. And then this is actually the little pocket. And so these two are going to come in. And what I like to do is make sure that you've got the longer side. They're not scored exactly alike. So the longer side goes in first, and then the shorter side goes in first, and that brings your seam darn close to the middle. And we're going to add adhesive to this side and adhesive to this side. And when I put those in together, those two pieces of adhesive really keep it. I can see I was a little off here on my score line. I'm just going to trim this off. Because otherwise, that next flap would be hard to flip up. So there we go. And then adhesive down that. And there's my pocket. And then I'm just going to take this 1 1/2 inch circle punch and punch out, trying to get it to the middle, and punch out the slot. So that's where the pocket will go in. And then I'm going to take this piece of Whisper white cardstock, which this piece is actually 3 3/4 by 5. And this piece is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So it layers like that. Again with my espresso ink. Ink that up. Stamp it along the bottom. And then I have to find my stamp set. I should have had these stamps set up and ready to go. We'll take this one. Stamp that right there. Okay, little tip about these. So these are the cling stamps, and believe me, they cling. There's no doubt about that. When you pull them off, if you leave them on too long, you're going to have a tough time getting them off of there because they're so stuck on. But let me grab a... Oh, here, I put it up here. A little cleaner to get this cleaned off. Okay, so if you leave them on there for, let's say, 24 hours, they're a little difficult to pull off. Even when you've only left them on a little bit longer, they're difficult. So what you want to do is you just want to make sure that you're pulling up on one edge. As long as you've got the sticker off too, then it'll pull back and you can pull them off. It gets really tight, and if you just grab it and pull, you might just pull that red rubber right off the mount. So be careful of that. Like I said, these cling mount stamps are awesome because they're so clingy, but they you could have some issues with it because they get stuck. So you don't want to leave them on. I have left mine on for more than 24 hours. They do come off. You just want to be a little more gentle with it when you're pulling it off so that you make sure you have it, the sticker up and everything. So these birds I'm kind of doing the same thing I did with the last birds I colored. And as you can see, I am not trying to be perfect. I really want this just to have like a watercolored look. Don't make your blends harder than they have to be because they are so easy to use and so much fun. I think sometimes we try to get perfection. And when we try to get perfection, it makes it difficult. And then come back in with my light, and I just kind of go around it again, and as those colors dry, they blend out. It does go through, but that's okay because we're going to layer this. And then again with the blue. Make sure I get them all this time. And this might be a good time where I showed you how I went around with the blue, but this would be a good time to just trace along that. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just adds a bit more dimension to your project. And then I am going to come around here. Just add a little bit more dimension. Come in and do my leaves. And when I'm using my blends, I really prefer to use the bullet edge, especially when I'm doing small areas. I keep with the bullet tip on here, but I really practiced using the brush tip, and I do like it because I think the brush tip blends really well. I hope that makes sense. I just think you can get a better blend with that brush tip. I'm just going to color this all in the same color. The other thing that you can do, which is kind of nice, is like with your color or whatever you're using. So on these flowers with this blue, if you want it to be a little bit darker, once it's dried, go back over it. You'll get another layer of that blue, which will make it darker. So that's just kind of fun to have a different tone with two different tones with one marker. So I know what's wrong. Oh, sometimes these don't work so well. I just put this one in here too. Let's see if I can get it to work. So I'm going to take this and just layer it right onto my piece of cardstock. The other nice thing is that this is wide enough for a gift card. So you could even just attach a gift card to that and then slide it down inside there. Now, once I did that, I took my ribbon. I better shut this before I end up with ink everywhere. Okay, so let me tell you something. My sister was having some trouble with these ink pads, getting them open. Yesterday, a friend of mine, another demonstrator, showed me that if you can push on this, it pops it open. I don't have problem opening it. It's opening like a compact. And then it closes. My sister was having an issue because she didn't know how to shut them. So what you need to do is you need to go to where this opening is wider and get your fingers in there and pull it out, all the way out, and then shut it. I don't know what she was trying to do, but she would end up with ink everywhere. So when I showed her that little tip, which really isn't much, she was thrilled. Okay, so you're going to take this ribbon, and I'm going to tie this in a bow. So here's my trick for ribbon. You want to go 1, 2, 3 lengths of ribbon if you're going for a knot, 4 lengths if you're going for a bow. So that is just a really easy trick to make sure that you've got yourself enough ribbon. And I'm going to come around on here. So 4 lengths for a bow, 3 for a knot. And it gives me enough to make a nice bow and not a whole lot of wasted ribbon. There. I wasn't catching the edge there. Well, it's not my best bow, but it'll work. Okay, and then the nice thing is once you got it on there, you can kind of manipulate it where you need it. So the next thing that I was doing, I was trying to figure out what I wanted on my little label. And so I tried a couple things. I tried this. It was a white circle, and I stamped it. And then I used the marker to go around the edge, and I really didn't like that. So then I just did the circle with a flower, and it was okay, but it kind of got lost in the shuffle. So then I pulled out some more petal pink and stamped it with the same, and then stamped it with a little flower. And then use that same circle punch that I punched my slit for, punch that out. And you can actually use the blends again with the Burley Espresso ink, but on regular cardstock. Now you do get a bigger bleed on it, so be careful. And the other thing is that you will see that the color, the marker really soaks into that cardstock. So know that. And don't get too close to your edges or you will have, it will be kind of a mess. There. So it just gives it just a little bit different look. I'll take a couple of dimensionals, and I always use my edges too. Just hang on to them. And there you have it. So it just gives it a little bit different look. The other thing that I like to do, one of the things I did a lot while I was camping was I took my Stella and just colored on my flowers inside of them, just randomly. And it just adds a little pizzazz to that designer series paper that you probably won't notice unless you're up close and personal with it, but it does show. So there's another little tip. Okay, I'm coming back online now. Let me see here. Checking to see if anybody has any questions. Sometimes I have trouble getting my rubber stamps to stick to the stamparatus. Any suggestions? If they obviously are they the red rubber in our old mount? They did have a little issue. Make sure that they're clean. Anytime you get any hand lotion or oils from your skin on them, they will have some issues with that. One of the things that I did, Marie, is I took some of our mono adhesive in the glue. Let me pull up. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay. I'm going to go to the shop. I'm going to pull up adhesives. So this multi-purpose liquid glue is really awesome. So what you can do with this particular glue is it has several purposes. It's really good for paper. It's really good for embellishments or glitter, any of those kinds of things. It has a really strong bond. But if you just take a little bit of it and put it on the back of your older rubber stamps that are having a hard time sticking, and doesn't need a ton, just a little bit. And then let it sit. Like, you know, I've done it and let it sit overnight. You probably don't have to do that. You could probably just let it sit for, you know, 15, 20 minutes, just enough so that it dries. And then what it becomes is like a really strong sticky note. So it'll stick to anything, but it'll also pull up, and you can use it over and over and over and over again. That's one of the things, the fixes that I used with our older red rubber that was having trouble sticking to clear blocks when we put the stickers on them. So I would just add a tiny bit of multi-purpose adhesive, let it dry, and then use it like a Post-it note. So that should help. Other than that, make sure that your stamparatus is clean and your back of your stamps are clean. I hope that helps. Anybody have any questions? Please feel free. I'm going to quick look around. I love it. I'm on Lynn's TV. My sister, her little dog is here today. But when she was at work every day, she would put on my YouTube channel so that he would have a voice that he'd recognize, and he would watch YouTube. It's awesome. Okay, well, I don't see any more questions on Facebook or on YouTube. I do have yep, people love that paper. Yes, they do. Okay, so I'm going to go back over because I've got some samples I want to show you, and also a technique that I did. Oh, wait. There. Anyway, okay, so these are some of the things that I stamped when I was camping. And then I'm going to show you how I did it. Well, kind of how I did it. I can't show you the whole thing because I don't have everything I need, but I will show you what I do have. If that made any sense at all. Okay, so if you have heard, somebody's calling me. I can't answer my phone, whoever it may be. It's my husband who doesn't realize I'm online. Okay, so these are some of the cards that I made while I was camping. This was the first set. So I don't know if you've heard of the press and seal technique. I don't have any press and seal here today. Otherwise, I would show it to you. But maybe next Wednesday, I will put it in my calendar to show you the press and seal technique. It's not hard, kind of time consuming just to get started. But I'm going to show you a way that I cut all these where it wasn't so time consuming. It didn't seem so bad. So what you do is you cut out all these pieces. These are all separate pieces, and you color them all. And then I used the stitched rectangles to cut them out, and that's the part that uses the press and seal. But cute cards. They were really kind of fun. But you get a lot of different looks. So these were done with the oval frames, and then I did the oval embossed frame. And I'm going to show you that today too. But first, let me show you how I made it easier to stamp, color, and cut out all of these various pieces of this stamp set. So I used this one here, Bloom and Grow, which the stamps that are shown on the outside are much smaller than what you actually get. So they're pretty big, good size. So this one here is actually this size. So it's a pretty good size stamp. So what I did to make this as easy as possible is this is one of those things one of those techniques, things I learned. My sister asked, where'd you learn that from? I'm like, I don't know. I could have learned it from anybody. I could have just figured it out on my own. So what I do sometimes at night, if I'm just sitting around watching TV, I might take a stamps or a die set. I'll take this one and lay these all out. And so just going to lay them all out. And then I also do the little ones. I probably won't do the little ones today, but there's lots of little ones, and I'll fill those in there too. And then cut them all out. So I could easily sit down in an evening and in an hour show, have a sheet full of, I always do a half a sheet, but you can see where you can get a whole bunch of die cuts and just have blank die cuts. And so actually, sometimes what I do too is not only will I take that stamp set, but sometimes I'll fill in with some of these pieces and just have them already cut, ready to go. So I can do, I could easily cut 100, in an evening watching TV. So once I've cut those, I'm going to make a mess here. I'm going to show you. I don't want to lose my pieces. I'm always afraid I'm going to lose my dies. So I have these 3 cut. Once I've got them cut, then I take my Stamparatus. Get this set up. Okay, so with the Stamparatus, I like to use my craft mat underneath. It's the silicone craft mat. And then the piece of foam, because these are photopolymer that I'm using. And then I'm going to set this in here. So this is going to be like a template. And then I just take all of those, then I take the stamps that I'm using. So for instance, I'm going to set this stamp up inside where that die goes. And if I'm looking straight over the top of it, I can usually get it placed absolutely where I want it. Do the same with this one. And now I moved it. So every time I move it, I have to get all the pieces in there. Let me grab the other flower. You guys got to get the full effect of this. This is like my favorite technique. Showing people how to do this, where you can stamp a whole bunch of images without, once you got it set up, then it's good to go. Okay, so once I have it set up where I want them, I'm going to flip my grid over, pick up the stamps. This is a good time to use the magnet, and I like to use 1 magnet with my Stamparatus. And then you're going to take your dies as you cut them. So let's pretend I had piles of dies here that I've cut. And I'm going to pop these in here. And then I'm going to take my ink. I'll lay this down here. Ink up my stamps. And as long as everything is up in the corner, as long as everything was up in the corner when I lined them up, you have to make sure that everything is up in the corner. I do everything with my Stamparatus up in the corner. Some people do it in the middle, but I really prefer everything to be pushed up to the corner and then work from there. And then when I flip this over, I've made a template. I think I was a little off on some of them, but you'll get the idea. So I made a template, and then they're stamping right in that area. So you're going to see these are a little off, and this one can be redone because it's all set up. But I must not have been totally squared up. But you can see where then you have all these stamped images that are cut, and there's no trying to line them up, trying to tape them all down, trying to get them through the die cut machine with right on track. Anyway, there's my little tip. That's how I did a whole bunch of them. So I cut and colored a bunch of the flowers, and then I took them and made, once I had all the flowers cut, then I was able to, make these cards. So these came from the same piece. This piece here is what I cut out of here. And then this piece is the outside of this piece. And this piece is the outside of that piece. I hope that makes sense. Probably not, but it will next week when I show you that technique. And I wanted to show you this frame too, because it's kind of cool, and I think it's one of those things that could get lost in the shuffle of the new catalog. So this is one of the Stampin' Cut and Emboss things, the heirloom frames. And there are these 2 pieces of cardstock, or dies, an oval and a rectangle. And then they have these frames that coordinate with them. And how I found to use this, the best way to do this is, let me pull out a piece of cardstock here. The humidity must have just totally changed here, Red Lodge, because all of a sudden either that or I'm having a hot flash. That could be too. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of cardstock. We'll do the oval one, and I'm just going to lay that die on top of that. And then I'm going to frantically look for my other piece of plastic. I'm going to run this through. Then I'm going to pull this off. we got a couple pieces here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the embossing part of the frame. Take that section out, put that one down there. So what you're going to do is you're going to line this up, and you're going to line this up right inside the embossing folder. So it kind of lines, you see how it's indented? You just have to lay that in there like that. Close that up. Put your folder on the sorry, on the Big Shot. The folded part I put in first because I want all the pressure of this embossing folder to pop out this end. And what I mean by that is when this goes through and it's squeezed through the machine, there's going to be a lot of pressure on it. So I want that all to come out here on the end that is has an opening. I have been known to do it this way, and then sometimes it wreaks havoc on my hinge there, and I have busted them that way. So I always put the hinge through first. Get this started. Hopefully everything stayed lined up. Oh, I had this. Oh, I know what I did. So I had this issue when I was out camping too, and the reason is because this is one of our thicker embossing folders, so you don't need 2 plates. You just need 1 plate. So never push it through. Let me move that light. If it struggles, don't just push it through to push it through, because you will be sorry. Well, that didn't work. What did I use? Oh, I know what I did. I kept this piece on, then I put this piece on, then I put this on. So it's a little different than the way that we used to do embossing folders. And Stampin' Up! Has actually come out with a new plate for the Big Shot to do our embossing folders with. I don't have it yet, but I hear it's wonderful, and I hear it makes them work great. But I just used the full-on book. So once you pull that out, then you have this beautiful cut frame that's embossed. And then this piece actually fits right inside that circle, so you can stamp it or do whatever you want with it or make it whatever you want. So just a really fun way to make a different looking card. So you can see on this one, I did it with the So Saffron and then use the inside for my flowers. And then this one, I just did white on tone on tone, white on white. Anyway, if you guys could see me now, oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm coming back to see if anybody has any questions. We are gonna, now you're gonna see, I'm just melting. We are going to, oh yeah. Okay. Oh good, I'm glad I answered your question, Marie. Sometimes you lightly wet the back of the stamp and it creates a little suction. Yep, that works too. Just not a lot, you just need a little bit of moisture and it works. Okay, let me run around and check. Cool, it looks like everybody's got their questions answered. So just a reminder that if you've got, one more check here. Yeah, I love that pocket idea too. We all have tons of paper, so let's start using it. Okay. So if anybody has any more questions, now's the time to ask. If you haven't already done so, you may want to drop by and put your name in the door price slip. It will be, there's a link in YouTube, there's a link on Facebook, and there's a link on my website. I do have a stamp set for free for somebody, and whoever wins gets to take that choice. What happens is anybody that's out there fills out the door price slip. It goes into a Google form, which sends me a spreadsheet. And then I pick a number beforehand of who the winner is going to be. And then that person gets to pick the stamp set. So today's winner is number 13. So if you haven't, now would be a great time to fill that out, and we will pick a winner. I'll just hang for a little bit because sometimes it takes a little longer. So if you have a question, now's a great time to answer too, because I can actually see, I can see the questions popping up. Linda likes YouTube better than Facebook. I like the way that I can do this, that I can do them all. Some people aren't on Facebook and some people aren't on YouTube and some people, you know, can go to my website. So that's kind of nice. And I think they're showing everywhere. I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, I am going to have an issue because I have to figure out what Hangouts on air, what YouTube wants me to do now. So I'm going to write myself a note so that I test it before next week. I plan to be here next Wednesday at 2 o'clock. I will do the, what do I call it? Press and seal technique. Press and seal technique actually came from Jennifer McGuire. If you've not heard of her, her husband developed press and seal. And I love that she uses it for techniques for her stamping. Have you used Daffodil Delight on the bird? I have, actually. And I also like So Saffron, Linda. Stampin' Up! Came out with So Saffron blends in this new catalog, and that's a beautiful color too. But yeah, all the birds could be any color. And I don't think birds, I mean, birds are all various colors, but I'm just going to color my birds, whatever color matches, whatever fancy I have. Doesn't have to be perfect. So hopefully, I'm just checking one more time, and then I'm going to announce the winner of the stamp set. So, okay, so number 13 happens to be Leanne Vralstead from Billings, 60 miles down the road from me. Leanne, you get to choose. You can either have the hand-delivered hostess set, this is one of them from last year, or the very vintage hostess set from last year. This would be a tough choice. I like them both. One of them is photopolymer. The hand-delivered is photopolymer. The very vintage is a clear mount, in our older clear mount. So, Leanne, just let me know which one you want, and I will pop that in the mail to you. Congratulations. I'm excited that you won. So if there's no more further questions, which I don't see any, okay, we're done. Went a little longer than I thought, but that's all right. Hey, thanks for joining me today. I hope that I answered some questions. I hope I gave you a little bit of creativity, a couple of new ideas to try. I will definitely see you next Tuesday at Wednesday at 2 o'clock. And I hope you all have a great week. Thanks. Talk to you soon. Bye.